Practical tips for parties before starting mediation. That is our topic for today. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact-dependent. Hey everyone, this is attorney Mac Pierre-Louis, lawyer, mediator, arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas.
And Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate mediator in Poland and in Florida as Supreme Court of Florida certified family mediator.
Fran?
I'm Fran Brochstein in Texas. My website's familylawforyou.com.
And Ty Bordoni, director of the Mediation Center, Central Florida, full-time mediator, primary mediation trainer in Orlando, Florida.
All right, guys, welcome back, everybody. So we're going to be talking today about more practical tips for parties before starting mediation. As many of you might know, we had done a prior tips for parties before starting mediation video with Ty. So be sure to check that out. But this one, we wanted to continue that and give some more practical tips that are a little bit more specific to either online mediation parties or just parties in general who are going to a mediation in person. So we wanted to do this one, though, also with Fran, because, of course, she has a plethora of knowledge that she can contribute. But we wanted to do this one by featuring alongside it a video that you should see on your screen if you're watching this. If you're listening to this, please be sure to check out the YouTube version of this video that we're recording today so you can watch what we're about to screen share. So we're doing this alongside a video we had published some months ago called Online Mediation Do's and Don'ts. And it was intended to educate parties who are going to be going to a online mediation session about things that they need to avoid to make sure that they have a good experience and to make sure that they help themselves hopefully reach some kind of settlement agreement, because there's so many things you could do that will make your mediation experience go awry and go really wrong. So that's why this video was done. But today, since we're talking about practical tips, we thought it would be a good idea to show this video. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds long, very short. And then when we finish playing it, we'll come back and we'll talk about some more tips practically that we have for parties before starting mediations. So hopefully you enjoy this one. You can check out this video on the channel. It's been sitting there for a month, like we said. We'll be sure to paste this link to this YouTube video you're going to watch onto the video we're recording right now, so you can have all the links in one place. Again, just go to the @LMI channel on YouTube, Lawyers Mediators International, and you'll be able to check everything out there. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and play it. And we'll come back and we'll talk about what we just watched. All right, here we go. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop sharing and bring us back on screen. Okay, so there you go. Short 1 minute, 30-second video that talked about online things, online mediation, do's and don'ts, things to avoid, and things that will help your mediation go smoother before you even start it. Okay. By the way, if you're a mediator, you like that video, just use it. It's a public resource. Please make sure you don't change anything on it because it is copyrighted by NC Mediations LLC. However, we encourage the public to use that video on their websites and any portal that they might use to help their parties um, be prepared for their online mediations. Okay, really, really well. All right, so guys, what are your thoughts, Ty, Fran? What are some practical tips and takeaways you took from that video?
Fran? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry it made me laugh, but over the years, I'll just go over a couple of things that I've experienced. I've had a client that didn't take her meds, turned bright white at mediation, almost passed out. I've also had another client that was on oxygen, and I warned her to bring an extra tank. She didn't. And then I also had one gentleman who decided that mediation was a day to quit smoking. It's not. So I always tell people to plan ahead of time a list of like 3 or 4 I absolutely need, and then another list of like negotiables. And also to think about their best day in court and their worst day in court, because usually it's right down the middle. So those are my quick comments for today.
Those were great. Along the same lines, I would say, don't drink or take drugs. I've had that happen in mediation, and we can't mediate if you're not in the right state of mind. Careful with your medications as well. I really like that Fran brought that up because it comes up. Let's be honest, right? That was really good.
And
Fran,
back to the video we watched. We wanted to say that this video was based on the things that we've experienced in mediation. That means there were people who were trying to mediate from the toilet. There were people who were trying to mediate with the children, actually, and we all do family mediation. Children jumping around them, whereas these are the children that we're discussing.
Right.
Or people have pets, and it's lovely, for example, in online mediation, that you can cuddle something that makes you so comfortable and cozy, as long as it is not barking or making any other inappropriate noises. So really, things that we now consider funny can be really stressful when they are happening. And it's just better to prepare ahead of time and to get everything organized the way that nothing will be disturbing.
Agreed. Go ahead, Mac.
No, Fran, the oxygen tank one was the first. I've not heard that one before. So we have to now remember to add on the do's and don'ts. Don't forget to bring your oxygen tank. Well, listen, the point is if somebody has any kind of medical situation, we have to remind people to bring the things that will help them. Okay. Sometimes it's people who have low blood sugar, you bring food and have it ready. I've had multiple mediations happen, guys, and tell me if you've experienced this, where people didn't think ahead 4 hours and they get hangry, right? They get hungry and they don't have anything around and they got to go get some food. And they'll typically ask me, maybe we're doing caucus mediation, and then while the other side is having a talk with a mediator, this person's like, listen, I just gotta go out to McDonald's or Jack in the Box or the grocery store down the street to get some food. Sometimes if it's close enough, it's fine. Okay, it's not a problem. However, that's something that could create a problem, and so we want people to think ahead. Make sure you have everything you need, including food
and logistics. Go ahead, Fran, please.
Well, and I had a lady that was breastfeeding. She didn't want to mediate, so I made a reasonable accommodation where I got her a private office. I cleaned it. I mean, I'm a mom. I understand. I got an area that was completely private, secure, and clean so that she didn't have that excuse. And I've also just let the mediator know like 48 hours ahead of time to see if there can be an accommodation.
Right.
I mean, I actually had mediation with people from another country, and they brought their elders. I had over 40 men in my office. They were everywhere, and I didn't have enough chairs. And of course, the attorneys did not prepare me, but they were very quiet and very respectful. But it was definitely an interesting day at the office.
The mediator has to be flexible to accommodate.
Absolutely.
And this, all of these are coming up because something came up, and then the mediator has to be flexible and figure it out. By the same token, arrange babysitting. Don't bring your children to mediation. Now, I've had small children in mediation, like one, months old. That's a little different. They're not going to know what we're talking about, but yeah, they shouldn't be around because they're what we're talking about, right?
And when we are coming to mediation, it's really nice if you are going to show something, and this is an in-person mediation, to have a copy for everybody present. So that, for example, if you're going through interesting calculations or data that you wanted to be to other people to be aware, it really helps if you can have it in front of your eyes. Works a little different on screen. You can send it to your mediator by email. It can be shared on screen. However, have it prepared, because when you are doing a mediation, even online, and you are now starting waving a card in front of the camera, that might not be the best idea. It's better to have it scanned and ready to be shared on screen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of the tips is people are more likely to trust you and negotiate with you in good faith when they have what you're looking at, or when you come
Yes.
prepared with data and information. If you're going to be talking about child support, for example, make sure you have the stubs and the tax returns ready. People just may not trust, and people who don't trust will not tend to want to negotiate some kind of agreement without thinking they're being taken advantage of, or they're having information or assets hidden from them. So just a tip: send information ahead of time, at least at the time of the mediation, so that everybody can be on the same page. But one thing I wanted to discuss with you: whenever I have a party and I represent one of the spouses or a parent, and we're going to be going to mediation, I always give them the speech. And the speech is, this is a practical tip, is don't corner the other side to the point where it's going to cause the other side to want to take you to court. If you corner the other side and not give them any kind of outlet and not let them be able to save face, they're going to have no choice but to take you to court. Why? Because if, pardon my language, if they're going to be screwed over, they're going to be screwed over by a judge and not by themselves. They're not going to want to give you what you're wanting if you're giving them no other choice. So always expect that the other side is going to want to fight back and make a counter offer. Expect it. And try to negotiate it in good faith. But if you corner somebody and you give them no outlet, what happens to a cornered animal? It's going to fight back. It's going to claw back, because we all have the survival instinct in all of us. So that's
when
just
the mediator should caucus, by the way. Caucus.
exactly. But I do it to my own clients because I want my clients to not drive their demands to a location where it's going to be is going to create the dynamics where the other side is going to feel that they have no other choice but to just throw their hands in the air and say, forget it. So I just hope that the other side's lawyer is also giving them that kind of tip. Okay. and is leading them to that place where, hey, we want to work something out here, not necessarily get all you can and can all you get at the other person's expense. People are going to fight. It's just human nature.
Be flexible.
And
Yep.
a lot of people don't realize that a family case is a lawsuit, and it's serious. And the rules of evidence apply, and all the rules that go into that. And nowadays, I encourage people to Google the word mediation, not meditation. one letter apart, but very different. And also, there are many, many excellent YouTube videos about
Mhm.
mediation do's and don'ts. I have taught mediation classes in the past, and I've actually used the YouTube videos. And they're sometimes very, very funny and usually very informative. So I encourage people to do some research
Agreed.
ahead of time.
And as the mediator, we can kind of see what's going on sometimes, and we can kind of let some parties know about certain things as well. But I would also say allow for enough time for mediation, because how often, just when we're getting to the crux of something, someone's like, I gotta go, I have this, I have that. Sometimes it's an excuse, is my sense, but sometimes people do. And so again, the mediator should let folks know, by the way, let's make sure that we have enough time for mediation. But flexibility again, then what do we do when that happens? But FYI.
I like talking to people about mediation, naming it a talk, a conversation. We are going to have a conversation now. And conversation requires that we speak. So even if you have something deep inside you and you decided that you're offended and you are not going to speak with the other party, make this effort. Sometimes mediation has the effect of really easing the communication as of the moment it happens for the future. But also, it is a conversation. That means we are not shouting at each other. We are respecting other people's right to be heard and to be respected in the conversation.
Yes, guys, could I have your opinion on a few of these? This one, don't be in bed. Can you please confirm to me whether or not on an online mediation setting you've had this
I have.
experience?
I
Let's
have.
I
have it.
have not.
No,
Oh,
Ty, we had it when we were doing the practice with you, Ty. We had it with you. We had a very
Yes.
beautiful lady, and the lady was absolutely in her bed. You could see it from the way it was all decorated. She was sitting on the bed.
Let me
so
ask you. Sorry to interrupt you, Mac. Was that because I'm thinking of one where there was a really attractive woman and she was in bed? Was it this one and her shirt kept popping open? Kind of. I'm not. Was it
Oh,
that
no.
one?
No, that was another one. There was too much already with an
Well, but
attractive
it's
lady sitting on
distracting.
the
It
bed.
really is. Careful what you wear to mediation. Now maybe folks do it on purpose. Sometimes I get the sense they do it on purpose, but it's distracting for a lot of reasons, especially for the one of the parties. Anyway, but I do. Yeah, you're right. It
So, guys,
happens.
the reason that we have this in here alongside all the other do's and don'ts is
Hmm.
because there are things that we've all seen or heard of and things we want people to avoid. I think one reason that this is a bad idea is I think it sends a signal. It may send a signal to the other side if you're not doing caucus and you're all together about how serious that you're taking the mediation process. It may be because you don't have the space, right? It might be because you don't have the furniture, and that's a different situation. And so we don't want people to feel that they can't be on their bed. However, we think that there is a certain level of professionalism that should come from all parties who are participating in the process. Mediation is informal, but it's not so informal that we don't bring any kind of seriousness to the process. Because remember, it's binding, it's confidential. There are all these rules that are invoked when in the mediation process. So for me, I encourage people to take this very, very seriously and don't treat the mediation that's online like it's something less than in a mediation that would be in person,
Yeah.
because it's seriousness to that,
But
to all
Mac,
to
on
both.
the other hand, I do a lot of rural mediations, and I had a lady that could only get a decent connection
In
at her
her.
bedroom window laying on the floor.
Mhm.
And so she had to mediate because it just wouldn't hold it, laying on the floor. And she was very, very upset. And I said, ma'am, it's perfectly all right.
Yeah.
I know you're uncomfortable. You look uncomfortable, but this is the best we can do. And I've done a
Right.
lot of mediations with people in their cars.
Oh yeah.
Yes, the cars I'll go to that one.
Okay.
So this one,
It's a
don't
big
be
deal,
driving.
actually.
This one, yeah, don't be driving. In
Yeah.
my mediation agreement, I specifically say don't be driving. I do not say don't be in your car. I think that's different. And sometimes, for
Right.
other reasons, people have no choice but to be
They're at
in their
work
car.
and they go to their car
Yes,
sometimes, is what I've
or
seen.
when they are living with somebody that they're mediating with, they can't be in the same place. Well, the house is so small, the apartment is so small. It's not practical for them to
Yeah.
not have a confidentiality problem. So they need to go in their vehicle.
It's true.
However, the driving component is dangerous. It's
It is
distracting,
dangerous. Yeah.
and yeah. So
So the point when that happens, though, I will stop them and I'll say, look, just turn the camera off. Don't look. Just talk to us, please. What were you going to say, Fran?
No, and I think most mediators are willing to accommodate people, but use some common sense.
Right.
I mean, we don't want to endanger your life,
That's right.
and don't be someplace with a lot of background noise.
Mhm.
I had a gentleman in the park, and all I heard was the wind.
Mm.
And I finally said to him, "Go in your car," because I could not hear him.
Natalia?
With the driving, we don't have that this often, but really those inappropriate places that people are in,
Public places.
and public places,
Not
and
good.
it might be really lovely that you are a social person, but sitting in a cafeteria, sipping your coffee with all these people around is not a place to do mediation.
Yes.
No.
And the other thing is when you are moving in a vehicle, the tendency of having a dropped Zoom call goes high incredibly.
It
Okay,
does.
because you know how it is. Unless you have solid, Starlink, Elon Musk internet, where you can be on the seaside or on the ocean with good internet, you're probably going to be dropping a
Or
call.
on the moon soon. Hmm.
Okay, so the
And
next one, oh, Ty, you had mentioned don't be dressed inappropriately, which I would like to hear your reasons why. I put this one on there when we were creating the video because I could see a few situations, a few scenarios where that might create a problem, even for prank purposes. Because again, somebody doesn't want to take something seriously. But what are your thoughts on this? Sorry, I put the censored on there when we were
well,
doing the video.
it's a good thing, I think. For me, there's two components. One, I find it distracting, right? I in mediation, I want to be really careful, where I look and how and so I've always, when women have, forgive me, ladies, I'm just going to come out and say it, when women have come in and their bosoms are just really coming out, I find it to be distracting. Now, I whether sometimes they're doing it purposely. A couple of times I got the sense that they're doing that on purpose. But as the mediator, I find it distracting, right? Because of course I just want to look at you, but I just find it distracting, to be quite honest with you. And once, because her bosoms are just kind of popping out. She had a really low cut shirt. And so of course I'm not going to go there. And I remember, don't look is what I'm telling myself the entire time. I'm not trying to be funny, ladies. I'm just saying, but because I didn't look, I didn't see a chain, and beneath that chain was a detective's badge because I didn't look. Now I dropped the pen, and when I came back up, I see a gun. I'm like, and now it just so happens that they got put in there because I was I was running late at another mediation at the courthouse. So someone else put them in there. And cops, police officers, detectives sometimes don't bring weapons into mediation either, right? But police officers, no, my gun has to go everywhere, not in mediation. And so I had to stop mediation. But in this case, it was a double, whammy for me. If it wasn't for inappropriately dressed individuals, I would have noticed the badge, I would have noticed the gun. But one thing really has nothing to do with the other. That's just, they both kind of intermingle there. But I just think come professionally dressed. If even men, if you're muscle bound, just wear a suit or something. You don't have to come in a tank top and show. I had that once too, like just muscles coming out everywhere. Now I didn't, but maybe the other party, come professionally, come ready to mediate, no distractions. So I know that's a little out there, but it is one of my kind of pet peeves. I don't like to see, any kind of sexiness on either side in mediation. I think we're there to do something else, but I don't address that beforehand. I don't.
Yeah, ladies, either of you, because
My apologies, ladies. I didn't mean to.
No, I do think you should be comfortable because mediation's hard work.
It is.
And so I usually tell the guys that have on a coat and tie, loose, feel free to relax and be comfortable. But I do think it's nice to have your clothes on. So
It's nice to have your clothes on.
but Ty, I've never really had that or I've never noticed that problem. But
okay. And we'll do one more. I know we're doing this video a little long, but I think it's a very good video, and that's this.
yeah,
How many times has this happened, whether it's a consultation or a mediation? Listen, this is a public service announcement. Charge your phones before you start mediation. If you're going to use your phones for mediation appearances online, it's best to be on a computer, and it's best to be on a computer that is plugged in. Don't rely on your battery because you don't know how long you're going to be negotiating. And sometimes, well, uh, uh, Lee J. Berman, we had this talk with him recently, right, on one of the podcast recordings you could go check out, where he says sometimes, the clock or the time can be the enemy of a settlement agreement. And so some mediators are willing to stay in mediation process and work until you get a resolution. You don't want the impracticalities of life to get in the way, okay, and to interrupt the process, and then you can continue on. So just make sure if you're going to use your phones, have power, or at least have a backup source so you can charge it, okay? But obviously try to use the computer if possible, because this becomes a big problem that can literally kill the entire process when you're on a momentum.
and Mac, I do want to add that
Yes.
I don't go more than 4 hours if we're not making progress,
Mm.
but I often go 6 to 8 hours, and at least 3 occasions I've gone 12 hours.
Mm.
And I was exhausted. But in all of those cases, the parties and the attorneys did not want to leave.
Yeah.
I didn't make anyone stay. So it is
Right.
very important that you have babysitters lined up
Yeah.
and that you don't have any plans in the evening and that you do have your phone or computer charged up and plugged in. And it's very frustrating when they drop off all of a sudden because their battery went dead.
Yeah. And then when they drop off, when they come back, where do they come back? They come back to main session. Another reason not to use main session as a caucus area, because sometimes the wrong person showing their face at the wrong time can kind of work backwards. Have everyone, don't use main session as a just in case, right? As a separate breakout room. Have multiple breakout rooms.
All right, Natalia, you want to close us out?
I believe that the better the preparation, the better the mediation. Therefore, never enough speaking of the things you can do as a precautions for your mediation: medication, food, water, babysitter,
Power.
your car parked and paid, so that you don't run off mediation, and make sure that you're not getting a ticket. All of that is an important part of the
That's happened to me too. Yeah.
mediation process. So just out of courtesy to yourself, be kind to yourself and make sure you come prepared.
Yeah.
And
Thank you
best
so much.
luck with mediating.
So I was gonna say thank you so much, Natalia, for reminding us of that. I've been a part of several mediations at the Houston area domestic relations office that does a lot of mediations, and it's downtown Houston at 1310 Prairie, downtown Houston, and there's only paid parking around the building. Multiple parties have made the mistake of not paying for enough
Yeah.
mediation, and where they're running in the middle of mediation to go pay parking. So that's another thing. You don't have that problem anymore with Zoom mediations and online mediations, of course. But Natalia is correct. If you're going to be in your car, make sure that it's paid for. All right, guys. Until next time. Thanks so much for sticking on this one. If you were listening, be sure to check out this video on YouTube. Until next time, take care.
Stay well.